Hi guys, welcome to the Josh Attwell Sports YouTube channel. Today we're going to be looking at a crucial part to anyone's squash game, their movement. This should be helpful to players of any level, so I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Back in the days of the heavier wooden rackets, it was widely encouraged to use the front leg in a closed stance the majority of the time when striking the ball, with a few exceptions. This is due to the importance of being set up in a strong, consistent position in order to strike the ball well with the small racket head, and to be able to produce a full swing at the ball with the heavier equipment. However, this doesn't have to be a stricter requirement for today's game, as the lighter rackets and larger racket heads allow players to generate more power and control from shorter swings and from more difficult positions. As the game has evolved and the pace of squash has increased, there are a far more diverse range of movements that are being implemented for various purposes, the main one of which is whether to play the ball off the front or back leg. In today's game, either leg can be used in most areas of the court. It just depends what you're trying to achieve in the scenario you're in. There are many factors that should influence this decision, so in this video we're going to go through the benefits of leading with each leg, as well as the potential issues you may have. First, we need to distinguish between the front and back leg, as this will change depending on whether you're hitting on the forehand or backhand side. For a right-handed player, the back leg on the forehand will most likely be your dominant leg, whereas on the backhand your dominant leg will become the front leg. Another way of explaining this is that playing off the front leg will be a closed stance and playing off the back leg will be an open stance. For left-handed players, just do the exact opposite of everything I say in this video, as it's perfectly mirrored. The surge of Egyptian players in the early to mid-2000s saw a clear pace increase. Players such as Amr Shabana and Rami Ashur were taking the ball earlier than ever. For a large portion of matches, it was as if they weren't allowing the ball to touch the back wall, as they would try to volley everything or consistently cut balls off around the back of the service box area. What they had correctly identified is that taking time away from the opponent was just as effective as being accurate from a pressure build-up standpoint. Further still, being accurate and playing at a high pace at the same time, while extremely difficult, would result in these players being some of the greatest of all time. On top of this, you had players like Thierry Lincou, who would use a very pronounced open stance across the short line to cut balls off around the mid-court area to maintain control of the tee. This would lead to players like Greg Gaultier also adopting a similar style, along with many others in the years following. So let's go through the pros and cons of each stance in different scenarios and positions on the court. The first key area of the court we're going to look at is the back of the service box area. This is a prime example of somewhere where we should use our back leg in an open stance on the forehand and backhand side. This is because it allows us to cut balls off before the back wall while still maintaining balance, and leaving our anchor leg close to the tee to allow us to get back to the middle of the court effortlessly. We can use this to take time away from our opponent in attacking scenarios, as well as using it to diffuse pressure if our opponent hits a good attacking length, as it means we can protect the back corners. It also gives us control over the tee, which will mean we can dominate our opponents and force them to do most of the work. This can be used effectively with combinations such as using attacking kills or bows from this area into anticipating the cross-court or weak return. The open stance is better for these combinations due to our ability to push up the court instantly as soon as we've hit our initial attacking shot. It also allows us to get our body weight behind the ball despite the ball being further back in the court. This increases our stability and will ultimately improve our attacking and defensive potential. On top of this, it opens up the cross-court angle even when the ball is far behind you, which can be used to twist the opponent quickly. There are some situations where using the front leg is more effective, however. For the back leg to work, we have to move back or across as our first movement. However, there will be times where we move forwards first to try to volley or to anticipate someone's short ball. If our opponent then whips in a fast cross-court after we've committed slightly forwards, it's much better to turn our body and use our front leg at the back of the service box, as that will be the natural two-step movement in this scenario, and it will prevent us from having to do an awkward shuffle onto the back leg. We should avoid using the front leg in the fast exchanges around the mid-court area when we don't have enough time to turn our body. In these scenarios, trying to use our front leg at the back of the service box tangles us up, meaning it reduces our options and makes it difficult to stay balanced in the shot. This will affect the shot quality and reduce our speed and efficiency back to the tee. The next area of the court I'm going to talk about is across the short line. This is an interesting one as we can use either leg depending on the scenario. Similarly to the last area, using the back leg allows us to get back to the tee quicker after the shot as we don't have to turn our whole body. However, it can cause a slight lack of consistency as our shoulders could be too open to the front wall if we're not careful. We have to manually correct this for it to work. While top players are able to do this, it's quite easy to drag the ball loose when under pressure if our follow through isn't perfect. Using your front leg has the benefit of forcing your shoulders into the correct position, While this is definitely useful for consistency here, there are other areas of the court where it has a larger impact that I'll cover in a minute. My main decision between which leg to use in this area will come down to whether I'm able to step forwards onto the ball or not. If I can, then I use the front leg as it allows for better weight transfer through the ball, which will lead to more natural power and accuracy. If I can't, however, I would choose to use the back leg, as I believe the ability to cut the ball off and get back to the tee quickly is worth the slight potential downside. It also leaves some room for deception, as often people expect a cross-court from someone in an open stance, so you can become difficult to read. As you can see, I've been using a number of professional clips from Squash TV in this video. I believe one of the best ways to improve your game is to watch the best players in the world and learn from them. On Squash TV, you can watch all the major professional tournaments live, as well as watching all the replays from up to 20 years ago. Click on the link in the description and use the code JACKWELL20 for 20% off your subscription. It's also a great way to help support the channel. Now for the front corners. This is another area where we have a choice depending on the scenario. If we're having to reach far for a difficult ball or trying to take the ball extremely early, it's always better to use our dominant leg on both the forehand or backhand. This is because it gives us the most extension, assuming it's the same side as your racket hand. It will also most likely be the stronger leg, which would allow it to take the load of a fully stretched lunge, while still allowing you to recover from the shot. For a right-hander in the forehand front corner, when given more time on the ball, it's often better to use your front leg, unless you're trying to be deceptive by using different movements. This is because using the front leg here gives you more options, and the ability to be more deceptive due to this. This is almost the reverse of the equivalent in the mid-court area, where the open stance will give more options. The reason for this is that in the front corners, the ball will be out in front of you most of the time. It also results in more consistency, power and potential accuracy, again due to the natural shoulder rotation and weight transfer it brings. For the backhand front corner for a right-hander, it's a bit different. While some unbelievably good movers like Greg Gaultier often played balls off the back leg in this area, it requires explosive movement mainly seen by top professional players. The reason these players do it is because if you're strong enough, it's quicker to get back to the tee as you aren't having to turn your whole body on the way to and from the ball. Despite the reduced reach, this will save time, which is incredibly valuable at this level. I would recommend using the front leg in this area the vast majority of the time, as it's most likely your stronger leg, as well as it giving the increased power and accuracy that I mentioned before. The final key areas of the court are the back corners. In this area, I've seen top players go off their front leg, their back leg, or use both legs together. The most commonly used movement in this position is both legs together. This is because it allows for the best stability in the back corner, which means it's easy to get back to the tee quickly and hit high quality shots. It also allows you to get your body weight behind the ball for a smooth weight transfer through your shots. A slight issue can be that you have to manually rotate your shoulders in order to make sure you're not finishing open to the front wall, which can potentially drag the ball out loose when under pressure. This is why I would recommend using this movement when you're not under so much pressure and you have more time on the ball. The most frequent situation will be after your opponent hits a typical deep straight drive, as the ball isn't coming at a difficult angle or forcing you to reach too far. On the other hand, when the ball's a bit further into the corner and you're under more pressure, let's say if your opponent hits a more attacking cross court, using the front leg will mean you can stretch with a bigger lunge to get to the ball. This movement allows for good consistency too, due to it forcing you to rotate your shoulders naturally rather than manually. This is really important when you're under pressure, as it's important that you hit your targets consistently, otherwise your opponent will be able to keep attacking. It also allows for a smooth transition back to the tee using your swing to help you glide out the corner in one smooth movement. Using the back leg, like with the two-leg stance, can allow you to get your body weight behind the ball. This can be useful to dig difficult balls deep in the back corner, as it will prevent your front leg from getting in the way of your swing in those extreme scenarios. All three stances can be deceptive in different ways too. Using the back leg or both legs opens up more of the court to play to, and therefore gives more options, meaning an attacking straight ball can cause a lot of damage. Whereas using the front leg can somewhat hide the ball from the opponent as you strike it, so someone with a good wrist can whip a low cross court from the closed stance to catch the opponent off guard. In conclusion, in extremely simplified terms, using the front leg will give more quality, whereas using the back leg will allow you to take the ball earlier. Thanks for watching guys, I hope the video was helpful. If you want some ways to help improve your movement, check out this other video I made on the topic. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.